for coming out tonight. This is a great crowd. We are also live on the Library Channel, so welcome to all of those folks watching as well. My name is John Kenyon, and I'm the Executive Director of the Iowa City UNESCO City of Literature Organization. And our organization, along with folks with the Iowa City Public Library and the City of Iowa City, are hosting tonight's event. And on behalf of all of those, welcome and thank you. So today we are wanting to have kind of an informal event. We want to get everybody excited and educated about the Little Free Library movement. And so we have kind of a loose agenda with a lot of information that we're going to throw at you. And we're going to start with a short film that Todd assures me, Todd Bol with the Little Free Libraries organization, he assures me that this will get everybody excited. So we thought we'd start with that, get everybody excited. And then we are going to actually present and talk about some of these Little Free Libraries that Todd brought with him to some organizations. The representatives are here in the audience. Then we're going to recognize some folks that already have Little Free Libraries on their property here in Iowa City. And then we will talk a little bit with Todd, let him share a little bit more information about the program. And then I will come back and we will share some information about some resources that you could use if you're interested in having your own Little Free Library, as well as some financial resources that some folks will talk about. We'll have kind of a more formal Q&A at the end of the event then, but at any time, if there's anybody speaking and you have a question, let us know. We have a wireless mic floating around somewhere, and we'll, right here, Rachel has that. So we will make sure to get that to you. As I said, we are being broadcast live and being taped for later broadcast. So before you ask a question, if you would make sure that we have the microphone for you so the folks at home can hear that, I would appreciate it. So we'll go ahead and get started with this film, and then we will move on with our program.
It's, in theory, a quasi-world premiere here, because it hasn't been shown to the general public. It's been shown at film festivals. I originally built a library to honor my mother, and I built one and put it out in the front yard, and I never planned on building another one. It was just one and only. And what amazed me is that men, women, kids, young and old, went up to the library, and you know how people will pitch their voice when they see a little puppy or a little child. That's what happened when they saw the Little Free Library. They would go, "Oh, cute, lovely." And so I always thought that that kind of reaction to puppies was like a finer piece of humanity, or a finer slice, or a nicer peek into humanity. And so I was fascinated by that. And so I had called my friend Rick Brooks in Madison, who works for UW Madison Extension, and I talked to him about this idea, and we decided to try a couple in the Madison area.
Todd showed me the library that he built in the memory of his mother. He built a one-room schoolhouse and put books in it, and almost every person who saw it said, "That's neat, I'd like one of those." And the movement was born, in a way, just person by person. And that was the interest that I had.
Our original goal was to start out, and we thought, well, Andrew Carnegie built 2,509, we'll build 2,510. And then we'll have the largest library network in the world, you know, and of course a little bit smaller, but they're quite effective. You know, it's a lot less expensive for heating and maintenance and taxes and so on. But anyway, we thought we'd get there by 2014, and we really, by the first part of August, we figure we'll have just went way past Andrew Carnegie, and we'll be moving towards 2,600, etc.
The history of this idea and operationalizing this idea really has taken first 5, 10, 20 people and now thousands of people. And our job is to organize the goodwill and energy of lots and lots of people who share a common interest with us.
The Little Free Library it's a place to stop. It's an oasis of sorts. I've seen people, there's a a girl, I think she's about 15, 16 years old, who I realize when she comes up to the library, it's a destination for her. It's not necessarily just something where people pass by and happen to stop. There's another woman down the street who this is a destination for her. She comes down here every few days and picks up a book and then goes home. And when I'm outside and people stop, it gives me the opportunity to, hi, you know, did you find a book today? What kind of books are you looking for? Is there anything, do you have any books at home that you'd like to share? And again, when people are invited to participate, because even with something like this, with signs up, people don't always read signs. When they realize they can share too, they're much more willing to.
I think all of as humans, I think we all tend to have a part of us that wants to do something to help other people. And what better thing can you do besides giving knowledge? I think it's nothing but good. You can't see anything bad coming out of reading. And being a part of it has just really, really, really ignited a passion of mine to see children read.
I like the relatively open nature of it. You don't have to get a permit, you know, there's no library card, there's no overdue fines. If somebody takes a book and doesn't return it, it doesn't matter. So there's, in a society where we sort of feel the continuing encroachment of rules and you know, necessary procedures, here's one that's pretty, you know, no limits.
I love it. I love it. I actually first heard about them last fall or last winter, and when on Facebook pictures were going around, I'm like, oh, I want one. But I'm not handy, so there was just no potential for that to happen. And then we have an email listserv for our community, and the note went out that there was one, you know, just put up, and I'm like, oh, it's one block away.
It was really a great reminder for us of how when you find things in common to people you have around, it becomes so much easier to meet them. And you know, we always thought about the people that walk their dogs in the block, and they meet other people out there doing the same thing. And for us, it was the library, because every time we came out to put a book, and we would see someone that would be coming in the block, and they'll stop to talk to us, and it was just an easy, comfortable way to meet people in this block.
Yeah, it was one of the fun things for us was the day that we put the library up. Todd and his wife, Susan, came down, met us, and Todd and I worked on installing the library in its current location. And once we'd finished that, we were off on the side with Margaret, the director, the executive director of Freedom Park, talking. And I noticed, I don't know, within 5 minutes or so, a boy rode up on his bike. I thought, you know, what's this? And opened it up and started looking in the books. And I thought,
it was magical.
yeah.
I just can't thank Todd Bol and the founders of this program. I just cannot thank them enough, because it's really a wonderful thing for us here in this little town as we're trying to pick up and move forward and make it a really good and a friendly place for families. And I'm especially proud of our children here. And they come to my house twice a week for popsicles in the afternoon, and so now it's popsicles and a book, because I have one of the little free libraries across the street from my house. So I would say, if you can, put up a little free library. It's a good thing.
Good. So is everybody excited and energized now? Okay, good. So Todd said he wanted to come up real quick and say a few words about the film. So go ahead and let Todd speak about that.
The film. I'm always touched with Mrs. Stassen. Her son is the same age as our son, went to school with our son, and he committed suicide in 2010. And they told us that they just had no way to celebrate him. They were always sad. And they said he loved books, and they scattered his ashes, and this was a way that they could come and honor him and express the part of him that was really dear and important. And I've lived through her eyes a lot thinking about my own son and how hard that would be. And there's a lot of stories where families will honor somebody. A woman in California called me and she said her husband was shot down in Vietnam and he was paralyzed, and for years he suffered, and he finally had Parkinson's and he committed suicide, and he tried to get his name on the wall in Washington, D.C., and they wouldn't do it. So she built a little free library in California, and it's a memorial to her husband at that time. She called me and she said, I'm so delighted. She said, I put out a cookbook, and in the morning there was 4 cupcakes, chocolate peanut butter cupcakes, to thank me for the cookbook. You know, and so what happens is, you know, I did this and I started this because I really think that there's a primal need for us to connect in community and feel a part of it. And really, I was just so amazed at the number of people that just tell us that I've met more people in the last 5 days than I have in 20 years. I've met all my neighbors where before I didn't know any of them, you know, and so it ends up being an exciting part. For years, for the first 2 years, Rick and I, the deck you saw was my deck. And I don't have a covered deck, so I was making signs at 20 below in, you know, Wisconsin and so on. So I always said we were 2 men in a deck. And now we're really excited because we got a big garage, and we're filling the garage up with tools and art and so on, and we do a lot of custom libraries. But that film always touches me because people get so excited and people express themselves through the little free library, which is so great. Do you want to introduce some things for us at this point? Let you do that. Unless, anytime, as he said, anytime there's questions or anything you want to say, just ask, please.
Right. So we have a few little free libraries here that Todd brought with him, and we are going to give those to some groups, not all of these, but 3 of them today, and we're very excited about that. Our whole goal with this is to really expand the network of little free libraries in the area. So to be able in one fell swoop to add 3 to our stable of them here is great. So the first one, and Todd is going to talk about each of these. I'll bring the folks up, and then Todd will kind of help introduce these, is going to go to Boy Scout Troop 212, and we have Ethan, who is a scout. Come on up, Ethan. Yes, he's the troop librarian, correct? Great. And so, if Todd, you want to kind of talk about that one?
Let me come on down here. Yeah, let me talk about this. We get a lot of Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts, mind you, across the country that approach us and want us to have this to be their scouting project or their Eagle project. And I was especially Brandon, who you saw in the film. He called me up and he said, I'm going to build 12. And I thought, well, that's kind of interesting. No one ever calls up and says, I'm going to build 12. And he's a 15-year-old kid, and he says, I'm going to build 12. And I went over and met him and his dad, and I gave him some barnwood trim and stuff that they could use for their libraries. And actually, this library, his dad was on a business call, and this is plywood, 1-inch thick plywood that was used to carry juice boxes. And it was a big crate that was shipped. And so he took the crates apart from the juice boxes and used this wood to develop it. And so he built the 12, and he told me that I should use these as good seeds. When Martin Luther King was asked, what would you do if you're going to die tomorrow? He said, I would plant a seed. And I want to make you aware that there are 700 libraries in Wisconsin. There are 500 libraries in Minnesota. We think there's about 50 in Iowa. 50. You got some catching up to do.
50
You'll get
little
there.
free libraries.
But, no, realer libraries. But anyway, what happened was in Minnesota last year, we had about 5 at this time. And now we have 500. So we 10 timesed it. So now I figure in Iowa, if we're at about 50, a year from now, it should be a piece of cake to hit 500. So I'm hoping that that's a goal. And so part of this with the Boy Scouts is to plant this seed with the Boy Scouts, and hopefully the Boy Scouts across Iowa say, hey, if they can do it in Minnesota and give us one, we certainly can step up and do the same. And we're hoping to see that from them. So that's that library.
All right. Thanks, Ethan. Okay. Ethan, we'll let you sit down. We won't make you carry that to your seat.
I would, it would crush you.
Great. So our next one will go to the City of Hills, and Mayor Tim Kemp is with us tonight. And if Todd, I know there's a great story behind this red and purple one here for Hills.
We started to look at libraries in the state of Wisconsin, Minnesota, across the country, and we started to say, wait a minute, there are so many small towns in Minnesota and Wisconsin that they just can't afford libraries. And we started to look at it, and we found out in the state of Minnesota there were 531 towns without libraries. They're just too small. So we started a small towns project where our goal was to make sure that there's a little free library in every town in the United States that doesn't have one. And we've got our initiative going here in Minnesota, Wisconsin. So this young man over here, I like to say that, he's going to lead the charge for the small towns across Iowa. Now, a part of it is I was on public radio today, and people looked at me and said, Iowa, we have libraries in every town. And I thought, I want to see the numbers. So John's going to come up and do the research and find out how many libraries there are and how many little towns that don't. But the very first town is right here.
We're very excited. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, one more thing is that this library was donated from a woman from California. And there was a poet friend of hers that had passed, and she thought he was such a marvelous man and a great Scott Wanberg. And so she dedicated this library to him. And she wanted it to be given to any small town in the United States. So we figure we'll have to dig up some of his poetry books.
That's what we talked about, yeah.
Yeah, and get them in there, so it's okay.
And we assume this will work as our reciprocal library agreement for... I'd ask.
That's beyond my pay grade, Tim. Thanks. And our last one, do we have someone here representing Hope House? We do, great, come on up. So we have the Good Mates Library, and another great story that Todd can share with us.
So, the Good Mates Library, Good Mates, okay. I got a call from a woman in the mail department at Prairie du Chien Correctional Facility in Wisconsin. And she said, hey, we really love your libraries and we'd like to build some. So the warden wants to know if you can meet with him. And so I thought, oh, okay. And I met with the warden, and he said this would be a great restorative justice program for the inmates. And so he said, and I'd like to push this program at the state, but I have to get approval from the state attorney, from the public relations. He gave me a whole list of the legal department. And he called me in about 2.5 weeks afterwards. He said, I can't believe it. I've been in the correctional industry for 20 years, and this is the fastest program that's ever been pushed through the state of Wisconsin. Through public relations, through the attorney, through the whole shebang. So now we've had about 40 libraries built from inmates in Prairie du Chien Correctional Facility. Actually, in the near future, we have a Russian film crew flying out to film them in the program. So instead of obviously inmates, it's good mates. And what we've agreed to do is to provide these libraries throughout the country that are, once again, good seeds. We have these libraries in Joplin right after the tornado. We have them in New Orleans after their last hurricane. We have them in Vermont after the floods. And we just got a request from New Jersey who wants some of our libraries. So we're going to send them to New Jersey. And by the way, we've got a lot of call for libraries in Japan. Right after the tsunami, they thought that a good fill-in was our little free libraries. They don't have to bury them from radiation. But so anyway, this is a Good Mates library. The correctional facility in Prairie du Chien made it. And our hopes is, as this hits your media and people become aware, somewhere in this dear state of Iowa, they say, hey, we can do this too. We've got inmates. We can build libraries. So this is yours, and of course it's storing some of my stuff. And by the way, so many of our libraries are made out of recycled wood, old hinges, old barn, so many pieces of things that just come from your home. I have a library in my front yard that has, the roof is made out of our swinging cafe door. The door itself is my great-grandma Christine's quilting rack that my mom, they were throwing away, and I saved it and turned it into a library. And the best part is that I was installing it, and I bumped a bag, and it played a music box. And what it was a music box that my mom had given to my dad over 50 years ago. So now when you open my library, it plays To Dream the Impossible Dream, which is, showstopper. It's so cool. But I hope you enjoy this. This is a pretty cool library.
And on that one, our hope is to work with the Hope House folks to build a library that we can then gift back to the state of Wisconsin as thanks for that one. So we'll be working on that. Now we have, as I had said, a couple other ones that Todd had brought down, and we're going to be working and finding great spots for those. So if anybody has ideas about that, feel free to share those. There are some folks who already have little free libraries in our area who have really planted the seed, as Todd said, and I wanted to recognize those folks. I think we have most of them in the room here tonight, which is fantastic. So when I say your name, if you could just stand up, and maybe we'll just give you a round of applause for your efforts here.
And maybe they could say a word or two about their experience?
Sure, we could do that. Rachel will come around with a microphone. And first up is Chris Raris, who I believe had the first little free library in Johnson County.
And our library was made, my builder, by the way, is Chuck Rarrett, my husband. It took a little convincing for him to help out with that. But our library was made out of barn boards from my dad's 150-year-old barn. So we recycled the materials there. It's been great watching people stop by. We have dogs, cats. Chuck built a bench by it. So we have people who stop and literally rest and read. So it's been a great experience for us, too.
Great. Thanks, Chris.
Here, I'll give you this and this. I want to say something here in between, if you don't mind, is
means.
that I'm handing out books to the stewards, and inside the books is something that we think is pretty cool, and we're hoping that you will help us promote. And inside the book is a recommended reads little 3.5 by 5 Avery label. And all you need to do is download your picture, say who you are, and write a comment about why you recommend the book. And each of these labels says our logo, but it also says take a book, return a book, and it says always a gift, never for sale. And the idea is that we all have, excuse me, we all have heroes and celebrities. It's oftentimes the mom, the mayor, the teacher, the local football player. And in the Twin Cities, we're working with the Mall of America, and they're going to get the Vikings and the Lynx and the Timberwolves to sign them. So you will never know what celebrity may be in that book that's in the little library. So, and it's real easy. All you have to do is just get it from our website, download them.
Great. Thanks, Todd. Also, we have Susan Craig here, our Iowa City Public Library Director, who has one.
Well, I was very lucky because I served as the president of the UNESCO organization last year, and they gifted me with a little free library, which I was so happy because I had the perfect place to put it. I live near the entrance to Hickory Hill Park, and so I put it in my yard by my garden, and the grass grows around it, and it's gorgeous to look at. But the first time I saw this van pull up to the little free library, and these children sort of leapt out of the side door that slides open, and I thought, oh, they're going to go there and I don't have any books for kids. So now I've been trying to stock a few children's books. And nonfiction is the favorite in my neighborhood.
Great. Thanks, Susan. Now, in the Longfellow neighborhood, Will Thompson has one, and Will and Dan Bolke, who is sitting with Will, actually made theirs. And Will, maybe you could talk about the new addition we have up here as well.
Thank you. Well, I got excited about the project when Maeve Clark, where is she? Anyway, told me about it. I looked it up online, and I'm an exhibit designer and fabricator for museums, and this is kind of like yanked me right into it from the very start. And being the benevolent overlord of the Longfellow neighborhood this year, if you fail to attend your neighborhood association's annual meeting, they will elect you president. So I twisted a few arms in the neighborhood association, and we're coming up with 4 of them for the Longfellow neighborhood, and Dan and I are building them ourselves, and Dan is the real carpenter, and I'm the guy with the pad that's always drawing things and saying, well, build it like this, you know. But what we have up there on the table in the corner is the portrait of Longfellow Elementary School that is a work in progress. It is not nearly finished yet, but I think it'll be finished by the end of the weekend, and I'll be able to put it on a post outside the Longfellow School. The first one is down on the corner of Grant and Court Street, and I've been watching it come to life. People coming by. I put it in the ground and came back a week later, and it had the same number of books in it, and not a single title was the same. So we had complete turnover, a note and now we're getting bags of dog treats and stuff like that being tucked in there. So Dan and I are going to build a little doghouse box that will go underneath it on the post, and one side will have dog treats and the other side will have dog bags so that people can do a one-stop shopping. But this has been a really wonderful project, and after this one we're planning on installing 2 more in the Longfellow neighborhood. One will be at the Deluxe Bakery and one will be down at 7th and Sheridan. And I just want to thank the property owners down at 406 Grant Street, the Taylors, for their generosity in allowing us to plant the first one there. So thank you very much.
And in order to get online and become official members, you need official signs.
Right.
And here's 3 of them in 3 packets, and that'll take care of you. And we get lots of free books and stuff from publishers. So, and you get on the Google map, and there's all kinds of cool things. So make sure you officially get on.
That means I'll get to build an extra one because we already have 2. We already have 2 of these.
That was my intention.
Great. Thank you, Will. Thank you, Dan.
We've got to hit that 500 number.
Great. Now we have Jack Nugel here, who has one in the Solon area. Jack? Oh, grab the microphone there, Jack. There.
I was up in St. Paul, excuse me, and I saw one, came back that next day, and I saw theirs in the paper. But I already made up my mind that we were going to build one. But I have a couple of suggestions for people that are going to do this.
All right.
One of the things first thing I did after I built it, I went up to the school bus stop and asked the kids when they were getting off if they'd help me install it. Because if you get them involved in it, you got something. So, and I said, we're going to do it the next day or whatever it was, and so they came, and I had them dig the hole, and, you know, everybody do something, and we got it all tamped. One of the little girls ran home and came back with a book before we even got done to put it in. But it's, get the kids involved, and they will, it becomes part of theirs, even if it's just pounding one nail or shoveling one scoop, you know. That's, to me, is important. And only thing I told Todd earlier, make it a little taller so you can get 2 shelves in there because it's full and I got so many books. I don't know what we're going to do with them.
A good problem to have,
It's a
right?
good problem to have.
Great. Thank you, Jack. And do we have folks with University Heights here? They are our newest additions. Okay, great.
Hi, I'm Roseanne Hobson, and I'm on the City Council of University Heights. And a resident had emailed me the link to the little free libraries and said, wouldn't this be a great project to do for our community? And then I thought it would be a great Eagle Scout project and contacted the troop. And Ryan Craven took it on as his Eagle Scout project, so I'll turn it over to him in a second, but I just want to say that it's only been installed for 2 weeks, and it really is just a wonderful feeling to go to the corner. It's on the corner of Melrose and Kozer, and at that stoplight that you're often stopped at quite a while. It's fun to just see people. There's an adult library and a children's library, and it's just really fun to see people visit it, and I've already replenished. We have an adult and a child's library and replenish both. So I'll let Ryan talk about it.
Yeah, like Roseanne said, my name's Ryan Craven, and I'm a Boy Scout with Troop 211. Yeah, it was a really cool project for my Beagle project. We just installed the libraries, I think, last Sunday. So it was, yeah, they're, like she said, they're on the corner of Melrose and Kozier. So if you want to see a couple example libraries, you can go check them out. And we built 2 of them, one for adults and one for children. So they're actually at different heights, so the kids can get into them easier. And yeah, it seems like the community really likes them, and they all took a lot of interest in them. We also conducted a book drive and collected lots of books for our libraries, so it was a fun project.
And as I recall, you needed 2 signs from our correspondence. Okay.
And maybe we can hook Ethan up with you guys as well and get some scouting advice on this as well.
Hi, I'm Bernie Kennedy from Coralville, and my husband just installed one this afternoon in our front yard. And I don't know is Allison here from the Coralville Library? Anyway, I spoke with her a few weeks ago, and then she checked. I wanted to find out if we could put one in the city of Coralville, and she got back with me and said we could. So today our little library went up. It's a beautiful little library. My husband made it. It has real wood shingles on the roof. And we have a few children in our neighborhood, so I'm going to somehow get the word out to them or put flyers in their doors just to get them involved right away. So, and I also did kind of a book drive within my office in Iowa City and got a whole bunch of donations. So. And I was going to say, too, a friend of mine heard you on the Iowa Public Radio today.
They say nice things.
They did, and they want one in their yard. So
Well, they should.
So I'm going to talk to my husband about building one for them. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bernie.
The books that I've been giving out are donated books from Sylvan Dell Publishing, and they specialize in doing math and science books for up to like 2nd and 3rd grade. And so what we're finding, one is publishers are giving us books all the time. So, and we give them out to stewards for just the cost of shipping and handling. So, and we'll announce it on Facebook and our website, so pay attention to that. Because we've got a bunch of them in the office right now, we're moving out. We've been actually getting, like at the Mall of America, they gave us like 1,000 passes for Nickelodeon for kids, so we've been giving those out. We've been talking to a gas company, and they're going to give us some gas cards for, I think that's great. And so one of the things that's happening, though, is we're getting more and more themed libraries, small banks and growing larger banks, and also credit unions have financial literacy libraries. And we have some organizations and hospitals that are doing health literacy libraries. And our signs now, since August, on the top of our signs, it'll say, celebrating healthier neighborhoods. Celebrating healthier neighborhoods. And when you look at the concept of what a healthy neighborhood is, it's a very broad-based health literacy, financial literacy, mental health, environment, good food, commerce. It's a broad-based concept. And so what we're finding is more and more people are doing interesting themed libraries. I was telling John today, there's one library that specializes in cooking and just cookbooks, and he has herbs surrounding the library, and he asks people to take little snips of the herbs when they're cooking. We have one guy that did a garden library, and he said that he did his garden library specializing in gardening, and during the time when crops are coming in, the little library acts as a depository of vegetables for neighbors to exchange. And so that's kind of cool. We have another gentleman that has a library that's themed in Massachusetts on music, and he has a music school. And it's filled with music-type books, but also he puts QR codes up that have the latest artists in the neighborhood areas that have new music. And so you can go in with your smartphone and hit the QR code and see the newest music. So we have all kinds of interesting varieties, lots of dog libraries, cat libraries, different themes like that. Really it's with your imagination. Cow libraries, chicken libraries, and there's, if you noticed in the film, I love this one, there's a library on Honeybee Island, on the Thousand Islands between the United States and Canada on the St. Lawrence Seaway. You can only get to it by boat, and you have to open it up and exchange your books there. So,
Great. Thank you, Todd. Well, is there anyone else in the room that has a little free library? Obviously, they're popping up on a daily basis, so I want to make sure we don't miss anybody. Okay, great. Hopefully, if we meet again soon, we'll have more people. Yeah. Oh, can we get the microphone for you?
So that's where the library is installed. Thank you.
All right, now I am going to turn it over to Todd here, who is going to talk more about the little free libraries. I guess we've kind of already been doing that, but officially I'm going to pass it over to Todd here, and he wants to talk a little bit more about the other two libraries here.
My partner Rick Brooks and I have been just absolutely fortunate and honored, because what happened is we're in the media. We've been in the media over 500 times. Every day, 3 to 5 new media pieces come out. And it's not really that much about us. There's a little piece about that much about us. It's about towns all around the world that are, and all around the country that are doing this. We get unbelievable calls. We got a call from Romania, and the Peace Corps is leaving Romania in 2013. And what they've decided to do is put up a bunch of little free libraries as a token of appreciation of the Peace Corps to Romania, to remember the Peace Corps. We got a call from a couple that in Milwaukee who lost their son also to suicide 4 years ago. And on May 29th, it would have been his 29th birthday. And so on his golden birthday, they gave 29 libraries to the city of Milwaukee. And they worked with arts groups, neighborhood associations, community gardens, food shelves, and put out the little free libraries. Our theme for this last year has been kind of, they're popping up everywhere. Look at these cute little libraries. And now we're trying to utilize I don't want to say the properties of the characteristics of this library to expand further. What happens is, it's said to us time and time again that I've met more people in the last week than I have in 20 years. Immigrant couples have called us and said, I've lived here for 3 years and I've not met one of my neighbors. In the last week, I've met them all. And so it's opening up neighborhoods. It's helping to redefine neighborhoods where they talk and communicate. And so we're going to try to utilize that idea to expand what Little Free Library is about. And part of it is we're going to start new innovative programs that utilize the libraries in global ways. And we thought, what a great place, Iowa City, to start some of those initiatives. This library right here is donated to Iowa City from my friends at Gaylord. Gaylord is a global sales company that sells to libraries and museums throughout the world. 115 years. And what Gaylord is saying is libraries touch communities, libraries open up communities, and they want to partner with Little Free Library to do this throughout the world. This little library right here is donated by Gaylord. And what's happening to us is we have libraries throughout Africa and Asia, and people are contacting us all the time saying, I want to sponsor a library in Africa. But I don't want to just sponsor a library in Africa. I want to talk to them. I want to Skype them. I want to talk to them on Facebook, blogs, and I want my class in the United States to communicate with their class in Africa. And not only do we want to communicate, we want to talk about books, we want to share books, and we want to write books together. And so what we're trying to do is use this piece, this library, in coordination with the City of Literacy to set up a program in Africa where a classroom here, a library here, acts as our beta test so we can help develop the curriculum, the methodologies, how to video, back and forth, how to figure this out. And we want this one to be a beta test with some daring library from a school or from a community that wants to do that. And so that's what we're looking from this library right here. The next thing is this library here is built from a product called New Wood. And it's half recycled wood, half recycled plastic. And we just received a grant from AARP. And we were in Washington 2 weeks ago. And AARP wants to work with us to reach isolated adults throughout the country. And what we want to do with this library is we want to work out an agreement where an association, a group of kids, whoever, will receive this library in exchange for reading and communicating with older adults, isolated older adults. So we would set up an agreement with them that said, in exchange for reading and spending time with identified older adults in your community that are isolated, you'll receive this library. And so what we're hoping to do is this one, see that as a model that can be duplicated again and again. Also, with this one, the idea is to stimulate interest to support small towns throughout Iowa. We got to figure out how many that don't have libraries. This one, and also here, this library is, we hopefully will find places in Iowa that are willing to do a Good Mates program like we have set up. We supply, by the way, mostly the materials, and the community supplies the materials, and the inmates build the library. The state of Wisconsin is very careful to let people know that this is not from taxpayer dollars. This is totally been donated from the community. And then also, obviously, this one, we want to see how your scouts come out in your community to come up with these libraries. And not only scouts, but we've got libraries from Kiwanis, Lions clubs, a lot of schools build them. So we're hoping that these 5 libraries, 6, act as seeds to really help and spread it throughout this state.
Good. Thank you, Todd. So I wanted to kind of close the formal part of the program and share a little bit of information about resources that you can use to build a library, acquire a library, help out with a library, get books to a library. And then we'll talk a little bit about some funding resources, and then I think we'll open it up to questions. So with the Little Free Library program, you can go to their website. It's littlefreelibrary.org. And there is information about the how to build these, how to be a good steward, how to promote them, all this kind of information. Locally on our website, the City of Literature website, which is cityofliteratureUSA.org, we have a dedicated little free library page that has a lot of information on it. It will continue to have a lot more information as we get more, just different resources about how you can do this locally. There were a few things I wanted to share with you. There are a few opportunities to get involved with things. Lowe's store has committed to hosting 3 build workshops during the months of January, February, and March, and we will have more information on our website about that so that folks can take advantage of that opportunity. Habitat for Humanity will have leftover building materials that are available for building little free libraries, and that will be at the Restore, which is at 2401 Scott Boulevard. And then the Salvage Barn will have discount coupons available there for materials to use exclusively for a little free library. Actually, apparently we have those. Thank you, Maeve. That are over here, which is a good reminder. Over here on the shelf, a lot of material, both from Todd's organization and articles about it from some various publications. I think we have the Longfellow newsletter that talks about their installations, the work that Will and Dan have done. So a lot of information there. On our website, we have the ability for you to sign up and share your information if you want to help build a library, if you have books that you want to donate, if you have materials that you want to donate. You can sign up, we'll put you onto a spreadsheet, and then folks can come and take a look at that and see if there are people that they'd like to connect with to help with this. We also have information on there about the requirements for installing these. We have the requirements for Iowa City, and we're working on getting those for the county and North Liberty and Coralville as well. Maybe you can help us with that as well, Bernie. These are substantial structures, as you can see when you come up and take a look afterward, and so there are requirements in terms of how far you have to sink them and all of that to make sure that they're sturdy. There will also be opportunities on our website to donate funding to help out with, again, the building and acquisition of little free libraries. And folks with the Altrusa Club here in Iowa City have very graciously offered to help out with that. And we have a couple of representatives from the club who are going to come up and talk about that. We have Barb Wilmer and Chris Rarrett that we heard from earlier that I'd like to invite up now.
I got a suggestion.
Oh, just one second. Let's get the microphone for you, Jack.
I was ready. We were ready to dig the hole and everything, and 2 hours before I thought, oh my gosh, I haven't got permission to dig a hole. You can't dig a hole without giving advance notice. But they were so good, they came right out and okayed the spot. And when the kids were going to get off the bus, they were going to dig the hole, and the newspaper was coming. But they were so nice, you know, to come out and do that. Normally, you have to have 3 days before you can dig a hole. But I'd call that to your attention. If you're going to dig a hole, you've got to call 1-800-DIG or something.
We have that number
Thank
on
you,
our
Jack.
website as well.
Yeah, that information's on our website, so that's a timely reminder. Thank you. Go ahead.
I'm Barb Wilmer. I'm president of the Altrusa Club, which is the local organization here in Iowa City. Bernie Kennedy is also one of our members. So we have 2 very active members, and Mary Masher is one of our members as well. So our organization was founded in 1917 in the state of Tennessee, and it was founded to bring to light women who were professionals. And so in 1926, the Iowa City chapter actually gained their charter. So our organization, as of now, is composed of about 40 professional women, either currently working or who have retired. So we have people from all careers: education, business, agriculture, education, government officials. So we have a wide variety of people, and our and the national, international goal is to promote literacy. So when Chris came to our organization talking about the opportunity for us to join with Iowa City and UNESCO and the Little Free Libraries, we were thrilled to have this opportunity to take part in something that was really important to us. So we are going to donate $500 as seed money for people to apply for reimbursement for their membership and possibly for defraying some cost expenses. So I'll turn now over to Chris, who is the owner of that first library in Iowa.
Thanks, Barb. And as Todd mentioned too, there's so many natural connections. I'm a longtime educator in the community, Iowa farm girl, and member of Altrusa, and just connecting all of those things was right for this initiative to get on board with this initiative. And just to mention too, Todd mentioned a lot of them have themes. Ours has an all Iowa theme, and it's in the shape of a barn. So, and as Jack was recommending things and people have recommended ideas about how to promote those libraries, the other thing I've been doing is trying to find recent books about Iowa or Iowa authors that I put in there all the time. So it keeps it fresh for the community. So just a thought, they encourage to have good literature in there, and I think that's something that we all need to be thoughtful, mindful of when we kind of screen the books that are in our libraries. So, I put in Making Peace, the pie lady from Eldon, Iowa. Yes, those books went right away. The Berg, about Hamburg Inn, but just there's so many rich resources just in our community that are snatched up like that. So, and I'd just like to concur with what John said and Barb. We will be helping out our Altrusa group to disperse funds that are donated for Little Free Libraries, and we'll be helping also with connecting builders with people who are interested in getting Little Free Libraries. So we're excited about partnering with UNESCO to get this going. And we'll also be helping with just a local build as well. We've contacted some other lumber yards too to see if they'd come on board. I heard you say today that don't be afraid to go ask lumber yards to help with builds and to put your case in there when you visit a lumber yard.
If I may, I just got an email from a lady in Hawaii, and she walked into the local Home Depot store, and she said, I don't know anything about building, but I want one of these Little Free Libraries that I don't know what to do. So the gentleman she was talking at Home Depot said, well, you buy the materials, ma'am, and I'll make you the library. So she showed up at Home Depot to get her library that was made for her, and she looked at it and she said, oh my God, I'm never going to get this in the car. And so a lady happened by and said, well, I'll put it in my pickup. And so put it in her pickup and took it to her place. And she put it up, and they had a horrible, horrible storm. And the library got knocked over and rolled through the driveway, and the roof broke, and it fell apart, which doesn't happen too often. The neighbor man came over and said, oh, I can fix that. So he fixed it, restained it, resecured it, put it up for her. And so we constantly get stories of neighbors stepping up, and we constantly get stories of Home Depot. Lowe's has a Heroes Project where you can sign up and become a local hero and do something for the community. Home Depot has projects. Your local Habitat for Humanity, I met the director of operations 2 weeks ago in Washington, and I said, you know what this is? She said, what? I said, it's about 24 inches. I said, do you know what you do with this? She said, what? I said, you throw it away. I said, we don't have anything bigger than 24 inches in our library. So I said, we're a perfect match. And so she's actually talking to us about getting our little libraries in every 750 of their stores throughout the country. So that's a big thing.
And I think Little Free Libraries build storytelling too, Todd.
Yeah, we have
great stories that you have about every library. And
well, they come at us all the time, and Little Free Libraries is really 1,000 stories and growing.
Go ahead.
Okay, a couple things I want to mention. Don't be afraid to go Google Little Free Library picture, and you'll see north of 500 pictures of libraries throughout the country, and you'll get a kick out of it. This library right here, my friends at Gaylord Brothers have a specially designed model of a gallery library, and the gallery library has a panel that you take off. And the idea is it's an ongoing community art gallery. You take the panels off. Also, you could put poems on the sides. You could put poems, artwork, and so on. And on their gallery library, they have a special sponsors panel. So you can have different themed libraries for different seasons. You can have a themed library, health literacy, financial literacy, get the local bank to support it, get the local hospital to support it. You could do it on cooking. You could do it on, Christmas, whatever you want. You could change the panels, and you could also sell the panels, because they're a 10 by 24 panel, and you can mount the panel, put it on a wall. So it's an ongoing revenue stream, ongoing gallery, an ongoing way to generate revenue for a library, a school system, a park system. We have parks that have them, we have libraries that have them, and it's a growing piece of what we're doing is this ongoing changing art. You can put QR codes on front to talk about community events, etc. So it's got a lot of diversity. And Gaylord has a coupon over there if you want to buy one of those over there that you can look at, just happen to have some. And the other thing is we are a 501(c), and we appreciate any time you go onto our website and donate. We really appreciate it. We spent the first 2 years giving away almost 3,000 signs around the world, and it's going from there. And by the way, anytime somebody likes to talk about unique library stories with our little libraries, we have them in Pakistan and Afghanistan that soldiers built. We have them sitting on a medieval wall in Germany. We have 40 of them in Ghana. I have a woman there, a librarian, built 40 of them herself, and I call her our marvelous African library queen. She's just unbelievably great. And she loves that.
So real quick, I think we're going to have Greg Michael with Gaylord come up here real quick and talk about his coupon deal.
I just want to thank Todd and Susan and Maeve and everyone that's allowed Gaylord to be a part of kind of your launch here. It was kind of last minute, and our folks at Gaylord said we've got to be a part of this launch in the City of Literature here. We are launching this gallery model of the library with Little Free Libraries, and proceeds are going to go towards supporting their efforts. And Gaylord has been really excited at, you've all seen tonight how Little Free Libraries has kind of touched a heartstring of all of us for creativity and ingenuity in our communities. And Gaylord Brothers is looking at servicing libraries and how we can work with libraries to hit this note in the communities and connect libraries with the community. And I think all of you stewards here tonight play a vital role in your neighborhoods. And I would say that having visited the library here today, that all of the librarians here are looking to hit that same note. And we're interested in kind of piloting this model both locally but also with the international community and creating this grassroots connection that everyone's finding in their neighborhoods with the libraries. And we're just really excited to be here and play a role. My corporate folks wouldn't let me leave with, we are offering 20% off of the gallery model. We also have introduced some literacy programs that are geared towards libraries and schools. And we just have some promotion off on anything you'd like to look at Gaylord. So thank you all for letting me be a part of this.
I have to add, we got a tour of your library here today, and it caused me to think, gee, wouldn't it be great if I was a kid growing up in this community and had this library? To me, it was better than a fun park, with all the great things, the little house you got there, the giant books that you got there, and the idea of having a pull-out stage that you can have puppets that every kid can play. I thought that was so cool. So if you haven't looked at this library, it's unbelievable. So I really appreciate it, and it was exciting to look at, and the things that you do here is just amazing.
And Todd was not compensated for that message, so just let me know. So I had a few more things I was going to share, but I wanted to throw it open and see if anybody had any questions. You guys have been remarkably quiet, which either means we've done a fantastic job of covering every single thing that you have a question about, or you've been waiting. Let's get the microphone over here. Rachel and Mary here in the front.
John, isn't there a partnership with the city of Iowa City as well? I thought there were block grants or funding available that way, and you haven't talked a little about that, but I'm curious about that program and what's available and what people can do to tap into that.
Right. We do have a little bit of information on our website about that. It's a PIN grant. I don't know if Marcia's going to be able to stay back here, that the city council had approved back in June, that went into effect July 1 for libraries and neighborhoods around Iowa City. And Marcia Bollinger maybe can speak a little bit more about that.
Hi, I'm Marcia Bollinger. I'm the Neighborhood Services Coordinator, and there are actually 3 or 4 neighborhood reps here tonight that are all going to be getting free little libraries through this this PIN grant that John referred to. The grant that was written will minimally fund 9 free little libraries in 6 different neighborhood associations. Some of the bigger neighborhood associations are going to have more than one because they're willing to work towards it and figure out how to do it. Ideally, we'd like to maybe even squeeze out a few more if we can be real frugal with some of the expenses. So, but the funds have to be used, or the little free libraries need to be installed in neighborhood associations. So I've got that information on the UNESCO website if anybody's interested.
Yeah, and thanks for bringing that up. That was slipped my mind there, but yeah, it is part of the information we have. Anybody else have any questions? Yeah, maybe come over here and then we'll circle around.
Do you guys have any problems with vandalism?
Yeah, we do, but it's minimal, very minimal. One of the things, people are constantly amazed how they don't have problems. And one of the things that we encourage is that when you get a little free library, we have a flyer that you bring around to your neighborhood. And actually we ask for $1 and a book. And they say, well, what's the buck for? We say, well, the next library for the next, neighborhood. But the book is to, contribute. And supporting what you said about having everybody help, we try to do the same thing where we have young kids be the stewards, help screw in some of the bolts to hold down the library, get them involved, and also to make sure they give books. And our hope is that when little Johnny comes by, it's like a story was a woman built a library, she was so happy, and she came back and she was mortified that it was thrown on the ground, the books were out, and the library was wrecked the first day. And she was mortified. And so she researched the neighborhood and found out it was 2 10-year-old boys that had done this vandalism to the library. So she talked to the 10-year-old boys. She was really angry. She wanted to prosecute them. But then at first, she wanted to do that. Then she thought about it. She explained to the boys what it was about, what they were trying to do. And now the 2 boys are building little free libraries themselves, and they're putting them in their neighborhood, and they're stewards, and they're helping her with it. So we have found more than once when there was something that was, like for instance, we had one library that was burned down, 1 out of 4,000. And a man in St. Paul, happened in Illinois, heard about it, so he built a library himself. He was a set designer. He built a very cool library, and he drove all the way to Chicago and put it in. And so we've had, and then our first one that was burnt down, we were all upset. So Little Free Library sent one to Bainbridge, Washington. We were horrified. It was burnt down to about this high, And then we found out it was struck by lightning. It was just obliterated. I don't know. I don't know if this is scientific at all, but it was kind of a Tibetan-looking library, and it had like 100,000 little keys all around that people put their keys on it, and maybe like with Benjamin Franklin or something. But anyway, but vandalism is something that does occur, but very rare. And on a rare occasion, we've had people that have tried to sell them at used bookstores. And so we have labels that come with these packets that say, that you're on the outside of the book that say, always a gift, never for sale. And we also we just started some stamps that we can put on the, this part of the book that say always a gift, never for sale. And on inside, when you do the recommended reads, it says always a gift, never for sale. And that's kind of a heads up to the local folks that these are not for sale, and also heads up to the, used bookstore people that this is not about that. And it's funny because one time we got a call from a used bookstore that said, we followed a guy and he took some books from your library and he tried to bring them here. And so neighbors, catch it, neighbors work together to fix it, and it ends up being a community development project that I think that helps the neighborhood out overall if it handled right.
Good. Okay, we had a couple over here, I think. Dan?
Yeah, would you speak briefly to waterproofing or weatherproofing?
Okay, yeah. We've been doing this for about 2.5, 3 years, and we make lots of mistakes. And when we first started this, we just did a single layer of like pine or something, and we found with the conditions in Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin, it just didn't hold. So what we end up doing on most of our libraries is we build a layer of plywood, and then we put the funky, cool wood over the top of it. And we find that that just absolutely works best. We almost always recommend a 2-inch lip over the top of the library. And also we recommend, for doors for the most part, I like a 5/4 inch door, something like the planking for decking. It's a stronger door. And then when I do it, I make sure that it's somehow that if your vulnerable part is this plexiglass, I make sure that if somebody busts it, it's really easy to just take off a piece of wood and replace it. So I make sure that that happens. And on the roof, I almost always have 2 layers or have this is a unique product, but for the most part, it's 2 layers to protect from the wind. And always a single door as opposed to a double door, because we find the double doors have more problems. You just really can't protect against a straight line rain, and that's the only time we really have leakage is if you get one of those horrible rains that's coming at you like this. But otherwise, that works best for the weatherproofing. And we've been very careful that this is the main spot right here, and we try to get away from fancy windows and stuff on the side, which increased your leakage and so on. But that's the main piece. And don't use any material under a 1/2 inch thick. We find that when people start to use really thin pieces of wood, it warps, it twists, it breaks, it falls apart. When I was as I work with these guys, that was one of my main problems I had with them, is they were always using really thin pieces of wood, and it would just be problematic. So and I don't worry about like any kind of rubber gaskets or anything like that. It's never been a problem. Yes?
Where's your biggest source of books come from? Is that everywhere? Is it libraries, or do you get constantly books?
The question, because we didn't have it on the mic, was about where the books come from. That's okay.
From everywhere. And what we find a lot of times is that people that buy these or make these are highly educated people. They read a lot, and they tell us that, which is interesting, they tell us that books are their heart and soul, but they can't stand the idea of selling it for 25 cents at the used bookstore. But if they can share with their neighbors, they're excited. So with that flyer that I mentioned that goes out to the neighborhood, it's also saying that this is your library, this is our library, this is the community library, and part of that is we need you to contribute and share. And so I think everybody here, has anybody had problems with books, getting books from people? Books doesn't seem to, because once you get it out to the community that this is theirs and we're sharing, people ride up on their bike and have bags of books, and I've had people tell me at 2 or 3 in the morning, they'll see people come by from work and drop off a load of books at their library. And by the way, we frequently hear from people that their favorite thing in the world is to sit on their porch or in their living room and watch the little free library. And I said, well, why would you want to do that? It's like, is that like paint drying or, you know? And they said, no, because people are so happy when they see it for the first time. And if you watching the film, people are always pitching their voice and saying how cute it is. When I install them, somewhere around half the people actually hugged them. You know, they wrapped their arms around and hugged. One woman kissed one, and I thought that's pretty amazing. And I think it's because we have a primal need to be a part of community, and this is kind of opening the door to the community a bit, and it makes people happy, which is, it's kind of neat that it's just, you know, just happy.
Yeah. I want to be mindful of people's time, so maybe a couple more. We've got one in the back, and then we've got a very patient person over here that I think will be next.
I was just going to speak to the idea of the books, that we've accumulated so many books as a result of putting the library up, that we've ended up with more books than we started out with in the library. We put 2 shelves in it, so we're able to accommodate 2 shelves of books. And they're overflowing, and so I have a drop box on my porch down the street where neighbors can leave extra books, because we're planning to stock this Longfellow Elementary box with children's titles. And so I've got 2 cardboard boxes on my porch. In my neighborhood association's newsletter, I continue to campaign for more books. So, you know, we don't have any problem accumulating books.
Good. All right, thanks, Will.
Well, hi, Todd. My question's for you. And this is kind of anecdotal, but ever since social media happened, I think I've read less books. And there's a huge social aspect to free little libraries. Have you ever thought of it as an alternative or a sort of alternative to social media?
No. People are always saying to us, you know, gee, you know, is this the last samurai or something? Is this the last piece, you know, that you're pushing the books? And the reality for us is we think that we are a nice blending of media, social media and books, because we think that, you know, the books have a kinetic kind of artistic feel to them that you're not going to get it with a computer screen. And when I read books, I have a tendency to circle all over them and write in it and comment, this author's full of it, I don't buy it. And then the next page I write, good idea, I get it. You know, and so I write all over my books. You're not going to do that with a Kindle. And the social media has launched us. I mean, you know, we're in newspapers and blogs every day, Facebook page, our websites had like 1.5 million hits, you know, and we've had, all the time we're hearing stories that I built my library in California because a friend of mine from South Africa sent me this piece. You had a little piece about us when we signed an agreement that ran in a news thing for the United Nations. We got calls from Cambodia and Laos after that. So, you know, we were seen as a UN partner, then all of a sudden through UNESCO and you guys, and all of a sudden we've got comments from all over the place. And it's the whole thing with the Facebook, the webs, the blogs that accelerate it. But we think what's happening is people are coming into a blend and a comfort zone with that, because the people that buy our libraries are likely also to have Kindles, you know, and they just use them in different ways at different times. I find when I read on a computer, I just do blurby things, you know, just quick. And I curl up with a book. I don't curl up with my computer so far.
Great. Okay, one last question here, I think.
Okay, I was just going to ask, the University of Iowa Press would like to donate to some little free libraries in Iowa City and Coralville. And I was just going to ask what the best way to go about that is. Would it be to contact the free little library stewards, or how would we know where the libraries are? I know where the Longfellow libraries are, but I just wondered about that.
I've talked with Allison
Uh-huh.
at the press about that, and we, I think, are going to probably be a conduit for that. And I don't want my office to fill up with books, so don't take me the wrong way, but we can certainly be kind of a middleman to get books out to the stewards if folks want to talk with us about trying to get books, whether it's the press or anybody else. I don't necessarily want boxes of books to show up on our doorstep, but we can work with you to get books into the hands of the folks that do that.
So will UNESCO have information about where the libraries are? Or-
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, right now, you know, as Todd had talked about with those signs, what they ask people to do is to register their little free library. You have a unique number. So, for example, Chris's library and Jack's library, and I don't know if any of the other ones yet are on there, but you can go on there and search anywhere in the world and find little free libraries. And then we are also going to replicate that on our website locally so that folks have an easier way to figure that out. And there goes the Scout library. So, oh, go ahead, Todd.
Were you donating libraries or books? I didn't quite understand.
Just books. We had some, we wanted to be part of it and donate some books. And it seems like, you know, some of the stewards have specific subject matter that they want.
We work with a lot of publishers, you know, for books. Some pretty large ones, Disney, and we've gotten books from American Girl, Simon & Schuster. In our market in Minneapolis and St. Paul, we have 3 nonprofit presses, Coffee House Press, Milkweed, and Grey Wolf, and they all donate books to us. And what we do is we do a couple things. One of the things that we found when we ship these libraries, UPS, we're mostly getting charged for the space. And if we actually put books in them, we don't get charged more because it's a big box. And so we send out books from different publishers, and we're always interested in that. And then plus what we do is we've started a new program with our stewards. If you sign up and pay your $25.34 after Thanksgiving, we will make you're eligible to get books from us for just cost for shipping. So we also do that. And then the other thing that we really would like to encourage you to do is we have that recommended reads piece that's inside inside the books like this. And what we love is for folks throughout the area to fill that out and recommend a book and put it in. We have numerous stories of authors that have traveled around the country and signed their books and put them in our libraries. And some rather famous authors actually contacted us and say they walk around Madison and sign their books and put them in the libraries. And so we encourage that. And also we encourage authors to, you know, sign books personally and give them to us, and we'll move them throughout the country. And we are also partners with like Wisconsin Historical Press, and we get books on barns and taverns and cheese, all those fine Wisconsin things.
Great. So in closing, I just wanted to let you know that if you didn't get your fill of Little Free Libraries, we are going to be at the Iowa City Eastside Recycling Center's Education Center at 6:30 tomorrow night. Todd will be there. He has some kits that you can purchase to build your own Little Free Library, and just talk about a little bit more about the nuts and bolts. We got into that a little bit tonight, but for those who really want to get into that and talk about building, I would encourage you to come out, have a little more opportunity with one-on-one time with Todd as well. If you haven't heard enough about Little Free Libraries, Todd and I are going to be on Dottie Ray's show tomorrow morning, so you could tune us in there, or tell your friends if they missed tonight. This will also be rebroadcast on the Library Channel, and our friends with City Channel 4 are filming parts of this and parts of the build to put together a longer piece that will air on that later this year. So plenty of opportunities to learn more about Little Free Libraries. And it will be streamable, yes.
And also you could, on Iowa Public Radio, you should be able to go to their website and hear this morning's 10 o'clock show.
Yes. Now, if you have a question about something, ask a librarian and they will give you an answer. So we were talking about the number of libraries in Iowa, and of course, before our program is done, the answer's in my hand. So Iowa has 543 public libraries. Now, that doesn't answer our question about how many small towns don't, but of those libraries, 415 serve populations of less than 2,500. So we have a lot of small town libraries.
Well, we don't call 2,500 small town where I'm from. That's where you go to go to the store.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
That's a pretty big town.
But, you know, as we're looking at targets of where we want to get, and we talked about the possibility of growing tenfold between this year and next year and putting us around 500, I think it would be great to equal the number of public libraries we have. So maybe 543 would be a good goal for us statewide to shoot for. Other than that, I wanted to thank the partners who came out, folks from Hills, the Boy Scouts who took their library already, a representative from Hope House, our stewards, including our brand new steward, congratulations. Our wonderful partners with Altrusa who are going to help us tremendously with finances of this, very important. And obviously our partners with the Iowa City Public Library and with the city for coming out tonight and for all that they have done to help with this project. And with that, I believe we are adjourned. I would encourage you to grab some information over here. Todd has agreed to stick around if you have any questions for him individually, and I would definitely encourage you to come up and take a look at these gorgeous libraries. So thank you.